Hello, I'm Jacob from Team 12586 Chain Reaction, and today I'm going to be giving a basic introduction to the first machine learning toolchain. So first of all, what you want to do is you want to mount the camera to your robot and move your robot around. What that does is that's going to take it mostly from the robot's point of view. You basically want to train your machine learning model off of what it's going to see in the real world. So don't take a straight down shot onto your team marker if your robot's never going to see that. Focus on the band of inputs the robot will see while it's competing, which is why I advocate. Hook up the camera to your robot, position it where you want it, and then record your videos from that camera. Okay? The reason you don't use another camera, say you have a super high quality 4K camera lying around to record with, you don't use that camera. You use the one on the robot that you're going to use in competition. The reasons, the dimensions are a little bit different, the ratios are going to be a little bit different, and also there are going to be little tiny changes between each camera that we might never know about, but the AI could pick that up. Go to the Videos tab, then click Upload Video, and then choose the file. So here I have the pink team marker video MP4. And I'm going to just hit Upload, and then write a description, and click Upload. Now that I have my video imported, the next step for me is to label it. So once again, it has to load all this stuff over here. But eventually, what I do is I just highlight the area that I want it to be, and then I give it the label, pink team marker. So if you notice, I have two things in this frame, two main things. And by showing it this pink team marker, I'm telling it, hey, this is what I want you to get. By showing it this pink thing, it's a similar looking thing to the team marker, but by purposely not labeling it, I'm telling the computer, if you see something like this, make sure not to include it. Now, I have a little box, and what you can do is you can go through clicking and labeling it each time. But if you want something that's a little faster, OpenCV provides a good number of automatic object tracking algorithms here. CSRT works fine. Median flow tends to work a little bit better if you're dealing with something that's semi-transparent, like a clear water bottle that works better for. But CSRT would work well for most applications. And you just hit Start Tracking. Now the thing about this is you can't completely walk away from it. It's not a perfect algorithm, and if you're not careful, you can end up mislabeling hundreds of frames wrong. So it's important to have some level of individual oversight to this. So I'm just going to pause this, and I'm just going to readjust the box a little bit. The better you do in your labeling, the better your final project will be. So once this runs for a little bit longer, we'll come back to it and then I'll show you how to turn it into a data set. Alright, so now that the video I've been labeling is finished, I just have to go out, go back, and then you have to select at least 2 videos to produce a data set. If I select one, it doesn't allow me to do it, but you have to select 2. So I have another one here I've prepared ahead of time, and I'm just going to hit Produce Data Set, give it a description, data set example, and then set the percentage of frames for training and evaluation. Generally leave it at the default. There's not much reason to play around with it. And then produce data set, and then yet more waiting as 638 frames get processed. So as you can see, now that our data set has finished processing, there's a couple things we can do with it. First of all, we see the total number of training frames and evaluation frames, as well as the total of negative frames. Negative frames are just those that we don't have labeled with anything. My first data set that I showed you labeling I had no negative frames in it. They were all frames where I labeled the pink team marker. But a frame where you have no label is called a negative frame. Those are useful for if you have something that your robot keeps identifying as your team marker. You can just take a series of shots of that and then upload those as negative frames, and then that teaches your artificial intelligence, hey, that's not truly what you're supposed to be looking at. You're supposed to be looking at this other thing. So that's the purpose of that. You have a couple options. We choose this one, it works well for us. I'm going to choose only 200 training steps and only 10 minutes. Realistically, you probably want to go 60, 75 minutes, see how much that has. As you can see, we have 255 minutes remaining, so your time is limited, which is one of the advantages you have of doing it yourself. And so if you want to label the data set, you can give it a description like this recognizes a pink team marker or something. But yeah, so I'm not going to hit start training, but if you were to actually train a model, you'd hit start training. After that, it's like everything else. If you refresh or leave the page, it's going to keep going. Once it's finished training, you're going to have what's called a model. Set it for more training and choose any one of the data sets you have made before. You can only continue training if your data set has exactly the same number of markers. So for example, all the data sets I have so far are all called pink team marker labels. If I were to have something that was like pink team marker label and like duck marker label, it wouldn't let me do that. Finally, you can download the model to use it in your op modes.